They tell you about the heartbreak. The songs, the movies, the novels, they all warn you about the crushing weight of the sadness. They tell you about the anger, the lawyers, the arguments over who gets the sofa, the dividing of the books. But nobody tells you about the phantom limb. When my marriage ended, I prepared myself for the usual suspects. I thought I would miss the intimacy. I thought I would miss the companionship, having someone to watch Netflix with on a Friday night. I certainly thought I'd miss the financial security of a dual income. And to be honest, I thought I'd miss the validation of being chosen. And for the first 6 months, I did miss those things. I missed the noise. I missed the body heat in the bed. I missed the sound of keys in the door at 6 p.m., signaling that the day was over and the evening had begun. But as the dust settled and the acute pain turned into a dull, manageable ache, I realized something strange. The thing that kept me awake at night wasn't the loss of love. It wasn't even the loss of my best friend. The thing I missed most was the witness. Today I want to talk about the hidden architecture of marriage and long-term relationships in general that we don't see until it's torn down. I want to talk about what happens to your identity when the person who held the blueprint of who you are is suddenly gone. This isn't a video about how to get your ex back. It's not a video about how to date again. This is a deep dive into the psychology of the witness and why losing it feels like losing your own shadow. Let's do a thought experiment. Think about a specific memory you have from 5 years ago. Maybe a Tuesday night. You burned dinner. The smoke alarm went off. You were both waving towels at the ceiling, laughing because it was ridiculous. Or maybe it was a road trip where the car broke down in the middle of nowhere, and you sat on the hood eating gas station snacks while waiting for the tow truck. Now, imagine the person you were with is gone. That memory still exists in your head, but the verification of that memory is gone. The texture of it changes. It starts to feel like a dream you once had, rather than a concrete historical fact. A marriage or a long-term partnership is essentially a shared external hard drive. Over years, you offload parts of your memory, your context, and your history onto another human being. You become the historian of their life, and they become the historian of yours. They know why you hate the smell of tequila, because they were there the night you got sick on it in college. They know why you don't speak to your uncle, because they held your hand through the fallout. They know that specific look you give when you're uncomfortable at a party. You don't have to explain yourself to them. You exist in a shorthand. When that relationship ends, the hard drive is wiped. The archives are burned. This is what I missed. I missed the shorthand. I remember going on a first date about a year after my divorce. The woman was lovely. She was smart, funny, engaging, but I found myself exhausted. Why? Because I had to explain everything. I had to explain my jokes. I had to build the backstory for every anecdote. I had to narrate my own life from scratch. I had to justify my quirks, explain my scars, and footnote my entire existence. In my marriage, I could just look across the room. A single glance communicated a paragraph of text. There is a concept in psychology called transactive memory. It's the idea that in close relationships, we distribute information processing. One person remembers the birthdays. The other remembers how to fix the Wi-Fi. One remembers the social calendar. The other remembers the financial details. We literally alter our neural pathways to accommodate the other person's strengths. But it goes deeper than logistics. We outsource our autobiography. We outsource the continuity of our own lives. When my marriage ended, I felt like I was losing my mind. Literally. Because suddenly, there was no one there to say, "Remember that time we got lost in Italy?" Or, "Remember when you wanted to quit your job and start that business?" If no one else remembers it, did it really happen? This is the witness, The witness is the person who validates your existence. They watch your life movie. Without an audience, the movie feels less real. You come home with a victory, a promotion, a great idea, a funny thing you saw on the street, and you turn to tell the witness. You reach for your phone to text them a photo of a weird license plate, and then you remember, they aren't there. And when they aren't there, the victory evaporates. The funny thing isn't as funny. The weird license plate is just a piece of metal. The color drains out of the world because there is no one there to reflect the light back at you. The silence isn't just quiet, it's invalidating. It makes you question if you are actually participating in the world or just drifting through it like a ghost. We talk a lot about codependency as a bad thing, and sure it can be, but there is a healthy level of entanglement that is inevitable. We are social creatures. We are built to be observed. In a marriage, there is you, there is them, and there is the relationship. The relationship has its own inside jokes, its own language, its own culture. It has its own mythology. I missed the culture of us. I missed the vocabulary we had invented. We had names for everything, for the neighbors, for our moods, for specific types of weather. We had a specific way of pronouncing certain words that only made sense to us. It was a secret language spoken by only 2 people on a planet of 8 billion. When the marriage died, that language became a dead language. Like Latin, I still speak it in my head. I still hear the punchlines to jokes that no one else would understand. But there is no one left to converse with. That is a profound kind of loneliness. It's not just being alone. It's being the sole survivor of a civilization that has collapsed. You are walking through the ruins of a city that only you can see. I'll tell you a secret. I didn't miss the arguments. I didn't miss the tension. I didn't even miss the person she had become by the end. We were toxic for each other. The air in the house had become heavy and suffocating. Leaving was the right thing to do. But I missed the person I was when I was with her. This is the kicker. This is the part that isn't what you think. I didn't just miss her. I missed the version of me that only existed in her presence. Human beings are multifaceted. We are different people with our parents than we are with our boss. We are different with our friends than we are alone. She brought out a specific side of my humor. She understood a specific type of my vulnerability. She knew how to calm me down in a way that I don't even know how to do for myself. Without her as the catalyst, that part of me went dormant. It withered. I had to grieve the death of the relationship, yes, but I also had to grieve the death of the husband I was. That role was over. The costume was back in the wardrobe, and I didn't know who I was without it. I looked in the mirror and saw a stranger because the person who had acted as my mirror for 10 years was gone. There's a specific moment that happens about 3 months post-breakup. You're at the grocery store. You see a brand of cereal that your ex loved. You reach for it automatically. Then your hand stops. Your brain has a glitch. A 404 error, file not found. Not. You realize you don't buy that cereal anymore. You realize you don't have to check your phone to see if you need to pick up milk. You realize you don't have to compromise on what to watch on TV. You realize you are entirely, terrifyingly free. Freedom is what we all say we want. We fantasize about it. But total freedom is also a vacuum. The witness provided constraints, and constraints give life structure. Without the witness, I was floating in deep space. I could eat whatever I wanted, go wherever I wanted, sleep whenever I wanted. I could spend the entire weekend in silence if I chose to. And it was horrifying. I missed the friction. I missed the compromise. Because the compromise meant I was considering someone else. It anchored me to reality. It forced me to step outside of my own ego. When you live only for yourself, the stakes are incredibly low. If I don't cook dinner, I just eat toast. Who cares? If I don't clean the house, nobody sees it. Who cares? If I stay in bed until noon, there is no one to judge me. The witness forces you to be better. They force you to maintain a standard. They act as a checks and balances system for your worst impulses. I missed the pressure to be a functioning human being. I missed having a reason to be good. I think this is why so many people rush into new relationships. We aren't just looking for love. We are terrified of the void. We are looking for a cameraman. We are looking for someone to point the lens at us and say, action. Because without the camera, we fear we aren't performing. We fear we don't exist. We fear that if a tree falls in the forest and no one is there to hear it, it makes no sound. And we are the tree. But here is the hard truth I had to learn. The truth that took me years of Sunday nights alone to understand. If you are watching this and you are going through it, if you are feeling that phantom limb, that itch you cannot scratch, listen to me. You are missing the witness. You are missing the external hard drive. You are missing the validation. You are missing the feeling of being the main character in a shared story. But this is your opportunity. This is the crucible. This is the moment where you have to learn to validate your own existence. You have to learn to be the star of a movie that has an audience of one. I had to learn to enjoy a sunset even if there was no one standing next to me to say, "Wow, look at those colors." I had to learn that the sunset is beautiful, regardless of whether it is witnessed. Its beauty is intrinsic, not performative. I had to learn to carry my own memories. I had to start journaling, becoming the scribe of my own history. I had to take the photos for myself, not for the group chat. I had to learn to trust my own perception of reality without needing a second opinion. I had to learn that the one thing I missed was actually a crutch. I was using my marriage to prove I was alive. I was using another person to anchor me to the earth because I didn't have enough gravity of my own. If you are currently married or in a relationship, cherish the witness. Acknowledge what they do for you. They are holding half the sky. They are the keepers of your story. They are the vault where your history is stored. Don't take that shared language for granted. But if you are alone, know that the silence isn't empty. It's a canvas. You get to decide who you are now. You don't have to be the person you were in the marriage. You don't have to use the old shorthand. You can write a new language. You can build a new civilization from the ground up. The one thing I missed, the witness, was eventually replaced. Not by a new woman, at least not right away. It was replaced by a stronger sense of self, a self that didn't need a reflection to know it was there. I became the observer of my own life. I became the historian, and I found that I was actually pretty good company. It's okay to miss the ghost. It's okay to speak the dead language sometimes. It's okay to reach for the cereal and feel that pang of sadness. But don't forget to learn the new words. Don't forget that you are still the protagonist, even when the camera stops rolling.